Hey everyone, welcome back to another Shadow Answers Devlog. Today in this Devlog, I'm going to be talking about the different roles in game development and how they all mesh and bind together. Hope you enjoy. So, there are a couple quintessential roles that I'll be going over in game development. You can obviously ignore some or utilize a crap ton of others, but it really depends on how you feel. So, to start things off, I'll start with the ones that most people know. And most people assume when you say, I'm a game developer. So let's start off with a very simple one. The programmer. The programmer is the person that makes your game function. Not that makes it look pretty or sound nice. They make the game work. And you gotta talk in a language they'll understand, though you have to do that for every role. But it's important for the balance of the game to speak in a language that the programmer will understand, to make sure that the game gets the correct changes it needs, whether that be buffs, nerfs, movement changes, and so on. They're the people that kind of tinker their way through it and come out the other side. There's also a lot of different programming types, though I'm not that well versed in them. You also have a lot of different programming languages, like, let's say, C, Java, stuff like that. Next, we have one of my personal roles, that being an artist. Now, there are a lot of different kinds of artists. You have 2D artists, you have 3D artists, you have modelers, you have all that kind of stuff. But at least where my talents lie is pixel art. Artists make your game look good. You want nice visuals? Bug the artist. Now, obviously, the way you design your game will heavily impact what viewers think of it. For example, if you want a precise platformer, maybe you go with pixel art. Really depends on how you want to make your game. For example, if you want to make a, let's say, Smash Brothers clone, you might want to go with, let's say, more of a 3D art style, but on a 2D plane. Or if you want to go for more of that retro aesthetic, you can do some pixel art. Another big thing in games is music. And this is where you bug your musician. Now, musicians work in DAWs, or digital audio workstations. I have my own personal one, as I've shown on the channel, that being Acid Pro 10. There are a lot of different ones, but they all achieve similar-esque things, which are making the music of your game, project, whatever. There are DAWs like Reaper, Ableton Live, all that good stuff. And you can make your music in different ways, whether that be just straight up recording it and then chucking it in, like doing it live. Like sometimes I believe it was Legend of Zelda did it. You could just like make it in a MIDI file like I usually do, and just place the notes yourself. Now, personally, a very slept on role is the writer. Now, you might not think of the writer when you first encounter game development. You might think of, oh, the artist, the programmer, the musician. You might think of those roles. You might even think of the designer. But I feel like a very slept-on role is the writer. And that's because if you don't have a good writer, people won't be able to enjoy your game to the fullest. Now, obviously, I speak from a very biased position, as I am a writer. But it's interesting to me that it's so almost forgotten, I guess. Because to me, a game's story is something that will make or break the game. Even if it's not said through words, you can still have it said through environmental storytelling. For example, if I was a different style of writer, Shadow Answers wouldn't be the happy, cheery game that it is as it stands currently. It'd be dark, grueling, It'd be a lot different. So it really depends on the type of tone you're going for. Luckily, most writers can adapt. For example, I could write a really sad story. I just choose not to because I like to write fun and happy. But yeah, I think writing is a very crucial role that doesn't get discussed much in game development from what I've seen. Another very big player is the designer. Now, I'm going to split this up into two main categories. That being the game designer and the level designer. Now, the game designer is the person who kind of makes sure the game is balanced and well put together, making sure everything kind of works. And the level designer, which I'm more familiar with, is the person who makes the buy-to-buy levels, i.e. level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and make sure they all flow together. Basically, the game designer handles the overall mechanics, while the level designer handles the more linear stuff. Now, obviously, this could just form into one designer, and you have them as your main designer, and that's it. Or you could break them up even into smaller sections, for example, mechanics designer, stuff like that. The designer is your kind of ideas person sometimes, as they'll have to come up with new and inventive stuff to make in Greybox, which is basically just the level, but it's not with all the art assets yet, and it's just in its most simplistic form. But the designer has a very crucial role, as that is what the player will experience firsthand. For example, the designer could ask the programmer to change the run speed of the character by, let's say, 0.5. And that will drastically change how the player perceives it on a first go-around. The last couple of rules I want to mention, I'll do pretty rapid fire. So, we've covered all the ones that will help you possibly make a game, but what about the people that help you iron out the bugs? That's right, I'm talking about playtesters. Alpha, beta, gamma, whatever. But playtesters are really helpful in figuring out what the game is like to a regular player. These playtesters can be anyone, from your grandma to your cousin next door to what have you, right? It can be anyone. Anyone can playtest your game. But you should probably find people that actually enjoy playing the genre so they aren't bored out of their skulls. With playtesters, usually what you want to do is watch them play through the game and see what mistakes they make. Though, if you're sending it to an international crowd, that is a lot harder. Though, feedback is still incredibly crucial and nice to have, as you can make tweaks as long as they're not too game-changing. For example, make this character insta-kill everybody. Playtesters also make sure your game doesn't have a crap ton of bugs, and the other nice part of them is they don't see the game through your eyes. As a game developer, the more you play your game, the better you get at it. So something I've had to personally deal with is sometimes the game is really hard to the player, but it's an absolute cakewalk for you. I.e., you know how to do this puzzle like that. They have to take 10, 15 minutes to figure out what the heck the puzzle even is. Or the boss fight could be an easily winnable fight for you, but for them, it's insanely hard. So, playtesters are very vital to making sure a game is good. The other one that I want to talk about is the marketing person. So with the marketing people, they're the people that help your game get into people's laps. They do trailers, promotional materials, stuff like that. I'm mostly familiar with doing trailers for my own games, personally. As you saw, my first ever upload actually was the trailer for my first commercial release game, Shadowdancers. Marketing comes in all shapes and sizes, from Kickstarters to Patreons to simple trailers on YouTube. It really is whatever you feel like. You could have a whole publishing team, or it could just be you making a trailer for your game, just like I did. The last two major roles that I can think of that I want to talk about are the producer and the director. Now, I'm not too familiar with this kind of stuff, as I am a completely solo indie dev. I make everything my dang self. But I'll read a little bit of an excerpt that I found off the internet. To summarize it, the producer is the organizational side of game development. All that good stuff, scheduling, coordination, stuff like that. The director is, at least in my eyes, seems like a little bit more fun, as they're the creative vision for the game. If they want to add 10 million zombies, they can add 10 million zombies. To simplify it, the producer takes up stuff with publishers and actually keeps the game on schedule and stuff like that, and the director is the creative vision and kind of the driving force behind the game. Anyways, that's about it for this devlog. I've been Fire. See ya!